Hey Rich, could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Rich Sheridan. I'm the CEO and Chief Storyteller here at Menlo Innovations in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Thank you. And of course, we've been following Menlo Innovations for years. A really happy workplace. We absolutely love what they do. And you're out with a book that's coming out December 26th.
Yes.
Which is called?
Joy, Inc., How We Built a Workplace People Love.
That is fantastic. I have read the book, and the book is amazing.
Thank you.
Why on earth do you care if your people are joyful or not? They're just here to make money, Rich. They're here to make you money.
Sure, and I believe these are not incompatible goals. We talk about the business value of joy. Mm-hmm. And the way I often describe it is pretend you had a project that you wanted us to work on, and half of my team had joy and the other half didn't. Which half would you want working on your project? And everybody always says they want the joyful half of my team, and I ask them why, and they tell me they'd be more productive, more engaged, they'd produce better results, they would get more work done in the same amount of time, they'd care more about the outcome. Mm-hmm. And so very quickly people understand there is in fact tangible business value to joy. And that's why we focus on that as part of our structure, part of our discipline, and part of our philosophy.
Thank you. And we had a chance to see the office, and the buzz here is remarkably different from other workplaces. People just, you know, there are actually just before there are school kids sitting there working. There are dogs walking around. There are babies. This is amazing.
Yeah, we put a lot of value on the human energy in the room. People can feel it when they walk in. You could feel it when you walked in.
Oh, yeah.
It's palpable. And we think that that kind of human energy is actually contagious. Mm-hmm. That even if you had a difficult weekend, even if things aren't going quite right at home, if you walk into a place where there's this much energy, where you feel safe, you can maybe step away from the reality of anything that might be going on outside work, and bring your best self to work.
Yeah. Now you have tried being part of the real corporate America.
Yes.
What was that like?
Yeah, well, for me, I hit a trough of disillusionment very quickly in my career, and I thought building great software was going to be a wonderful career for me. This is something I wanted to do from the first time I laid hands on a computer when I was just a kid, but very quickly discovered that the typical corporate environment where software is done is often dog-eat-dog sort of culture. It's the land of death march. It's the land of failed projects. It's the land of fear and uncertainty. Yeah. And I quickly decided I didn't want to be a part of that. Quite frankly, the first time I decided that, I thought I had to leave the whole industry. But I decided to stay, and I decided to change the industry, and that's really the story we've captured in the book. And you talked to us about pumping fear out of the room. What do you mean by that? Yeah, well, most organizations operate on a culture of fear. Often, I think many of us were taught in our earliest managerial days that you motivate people with fear, but in fact you don't. Yeah. Fear actually shuts down the most interesting parts of our brain. And so I think as a visionary leader for this company, my biggest challenge, my biggest opportunity in growing this team is to systematically create a culture that pumps fear out of the room, doesn't pump fear into the room. Now, we can't get rid of all fear. There's certain things that are just natural types of fear. There's a reason you and I don't step out into traffic, right? Those are healthy kinds of fear. The kind of fear I'm talking about is where management manufactures fear in order to motivate. Yeah. And that just doesn't work, especially for a team that you want to be creative and imaginative and inventive. Yeah. So out of the many things you guys do to create a joyful workplace, all of which you describe in the book, which is, as I said, awesome. What are one or two of your favorite things you do that seems to be working really well? Something that maybe other workplaces could learn from? Sure. You know, for us, it starts with the physical space. The fact that there are no barriers to human communication here. We work in this wide open room that's very flexible. The team's in charge of the space, so they can form the space however they choose. I sit right out in the middle of the room with everyone else, so there's no gifted C-suite for the CEO.
Yeah.
I actually sit where the team puts me. I don't even decide where my table goes. And all of that starts to lend itself to an idea of, well, let's first make the leaders approachable.
Yeah.
And let's make them vulnerable. Let's make them seem like real human beings as opposed to somebody up in an ivory tower.
Are you saying it's not enough to say my door is always open?
Yeah, well, we couldn't say that here because we don't have
you don't
doors.
really have doors, that's true.
But it's true. I mean, if a boss says, well, my door is always open, I can almost guarantee you walk by that boss's door and it's closed 75% of the time.
He's in a meeting.
Right, of course he is. And it's a private meeting. We know that because the door's closed and we can't even see who's in the meeting. Here, even where we have doors, which we finally have after 10 years of being in business, they're glass doors.
Yeah.
They're clear glass doors.
Yeah.
And so you always know where the CEO is. You always know who he's talking to.
And you also don't really have meetings.
That's true. Yeah, we view meetings as mind-numbing, spirit-sucking, energy-draining devices of management. So we pretty much eliminated them.
Don't we all?
And the only meeting we have, which you participated in this morning, is our daily stand-up. It's called by a plastic dartboard that has an alarm clock in it. I don't know why, but it just does. It calls the meeting at 10 o'clock. We gather in a circle. We use a Viking helmet to control the meeting, and it lasts less than 13 minutes, and that's our meeting for the day.
And you've also eliminated internal email.
Yes, when we communicate with one another, we don't use electronics. We use what we like to call high-speed voice technology.
And how does that work exactly?
Well, you know, the hardware's built right in. Alex, there's vocal cords, there's eyebrows, there's body language. And we just do it by saying, hey, Alex. And then you say, hey, Rich, and we're in a meeting.
And one final thing you guys do that really impresses me is about how many hours you work. How many hours do you guys work?
Yeah, well, if you talk about me personally, I am the typical entrepreneur, and so I often joke with the community that I've got my day down to half days.
Right.
And I actually get to decide which 12 hours that is. But for the rest of the team, I think we've achieved something that's virtually unprecedented in our industry. And that is, in 12 years, we've worked 40-hour work weeks. We've never worked weekends. We've never had to deny or delay a vacation request. All of our clients are external to our organization. They all have their budgetary and scheduled deadlines, but we've constructed a system that if we need to get more done to hit a deadline, we can actually add in more people to help and actually get more done. And so by doing that, we get something that I think is missing from the cultural conversation in corporate America today, and that is, we're not talking about sustaining the humans.
Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about sustainability on the planet, whether it's ecosystems or the climate or species or even cities or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to bring the word sustainability in when we talk about the people who work for us.
And it turns out that maybe working 80 hours a week, for weeks on end, for years on end, is maybe not sustainable.
Well, it's certainly not sustainable in my industry because the trouble with software is that the computer does exactly what you tell it to do. And if you tell it to do things incorrectly, which a tired programmer will, it will faithfully execute that wrong instructions millions of times.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to the quality of our work that the people who are doing it aren't tired, aren't burned out. And so that's why we focus on this. This isn't just because we want to take great care of our team, which we do. This is because we care so much about the outcome of what our team is producing.
Yeah.
And so this blends right into the business value of joy, not just this is a joyful place to work or this is a happy place to work. This is about producing great outcomes.
And people actually get more work done in 40 hours a week than they do in 80.
Yep.
And what I think you're saying here is that this is not just about having fun. This is about producing the best possible work for your clients.
Absolutely is. And, because when I talk about joy with people, about the business value of joy, I talk about the external focus of the organization.
Yeah.
We want the work that happens in this room to get shipped, to work, and to delight the people we built it for. Well, you can't do that with a tired team. You just can't. It's not possible. You can fool yourself into thinking it is, But if you're getting, if you're in an industry like mine and you're getting hundreds of calls a day because of defects in your product, or if your customers are frustrated because things aren't working, you need to look at your culture and you need to look at how you're treating your people to really see whether you are creating a humanly sustainable pace inside your organization.
Yeah. So your book is out December 26th. What do you really hope people will take from the book?
You know, people have been coming from around the planet. We even have people come as far away as Copenhagen to come and visit us.
Weirdos.
It's hard to imagine it could be that far away. But literally every continent is now represented short of Antarctica. And so people have come from all over the planet to see this place. And we realize that they're coming here for a reason. They're coming here because there's something not working in their own system, in their own culture, in their own companies. And we knew we had to start sharing that with the world, and that's really what the book is all about.
That is fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. I really appreciate the fact that you made it here.
My pleasure. Fantastic.